Tina Fontaine. We're here today to talk about the person, the spirit, and the life that we lost. Tina Fontaine is a name that hopefully by the end of the speech you will be able to remember. Her body was recovered from the Red River almost 8 years ago. She was just 15 years old and in grade 10. Tina missed out on the experience that most high school students look forward to at her age. She missed out on prom, graduation, football games, and everything else that makes life so enjoyable and gives it a spark at that age. All at the hands of a murderer that walks freely as we speak today. Tina unfortunately didn't get the greatest childhood. She grew up in the toxic care of the foster system, since her parents weren't unable to take care of her or her siblings, until she was placed in the care of her great aunt and great uncle, Thelma and Joseph Fable, whom she considered to be her grandparents. She was just a happy, polite girl. That's just the kind of girl she was, her grandmother mentioned. Though everything changed on October 11, 2011, when Tina's father was savagely beaten to death by two men. She just didn't know how to function without her father, her great aunt explained. Tina was confused by her father's death, and she had lost in touch with the person she previously had been. Her father was her rock, even though he hadn't been there for the majority of her life. Tina believed it would be a good idea to reunite with her biological mother and fly to Winnipeg to cope with what life had thrown at her. However, after her foster parents did not hear from her for a long time, they became concerned and contacted Child and Family Services. Tina's life then descended into a sequence of unfortunate events. Tina had lost a sense of belonging after continuously relocating and sleeping on friends' sofas, as well as occasionally being placed in the care of Child and Family Services. Tina was sitting with her then boyfriend Cody Manson on a night in mid-July. It was stated that they were sitting on the sidewalk together of a street, sharing a drink, when a strange man named Sebastian approached them, offering the two teenagers drugs. We subsequently learned that the weird name was Comir, and that he had lied to the kids and lured them into visiting various places where neurotics were offered to them. Comir, or Sebastian, got into a confrontation with Tina on the night of August 6th after he made sexual advances toward her, an underage female, according to witnesses. Tina had just walked out of the home furious. She returned to Child and Family Services 2 days later, on August 8th. After being brought to the Children's Hospital, Tina informed her social worker that her buddy, Sebastian, offered her a bike exchange for the one he had sold for drugs. She left to meet up with her friends later that day at 5:30 p.m. That was the last time Tina was seen alive. Comir was tracked and arrested by authorities when significant evidence led to them suspect that he was Tina's murderer. Several witnesses stated that they saw Comir carrying the covered duvet in which Tina's body was discovered in. Unfortunately, any DNA evidence on Tina's body or the duvet identificating that she had been in the river for a long time had been swiped away. The cops had installed a hidden microphone in Comir's home to recording him admitting to having sex with Tina. All evidence pointed to the murder, and he was charged with Tina's second-degree murder. What do you think about the decision on whether Comir was guilty or not? After I gave you all of the evidence and charges that were put against him, do you think he was guilty? The jury found Comir not guilty of all accusations brought against him. He was able to walk away from the situation unharmed. Tina and so many others have been let down by the system that we trust and rely on to keep us secure. It has allowed the person who took her life to walk freely, untouched, with no regard for her life whatsoever. While her killer continues to roam freely today, Tina's family is still mourning the loss of their daughter and must live with the knowledge that her murderer is still out and about on the streets with no guilt for what he has done. This is not the first time that the Canadian government has failed to provide justice to Indigenous women. Stephen Harper, Canadian's 22nd Prime Minister, says an Aboriginal girl in Canada today will die up to 10 years earlier than the national average. She is more likely to live in a crowded home without access to clean water. She is more likely to be sexually or physically abused and stand a far greater chance of becoming addicted to tobacco, alcohol, and drugs. Do you believe that these women's rights as Canadian citizens have been met after hearing this information? Do you believe the environment in which little girls live in and grow up in is just? At some point, society must pause and examine how the lives of these innocent individuals are discarded and unprotected. Because we know the government is aware of these circumstances, yet chooses not to do anything about it. If this was hidden knowledge in an intact community, I would have given the government the benefit of the doubt, but it is not. It has been going on for many years across Canada. According to statistics conducted by the RMCP Operational Overview, 1,881 Indigenous women went missing or were killed between 1980 and 2012. Indigenous women account for 16% of all women murdered in Canada, although just about 4% of the total population. So, this has been going on for decades, not just a few years. This has resulted of accumulated rage within a community because mothers, daughters, sisters are going missing and no one is making an attempt to find them. I came to Canada when I was just about 10 years old. I had survived a war in a city that knew nothing but tragedy. I arrived in this country thinking that I wouldn't be surrounded by that kind of hate anymore. I came to this country thinking that blood spillage would not be neglected, that the government will for sure find justice for its people. This is not the Canada I wanted to be a part of. This is not the Canada that I knew to be a safe land as a child. I'm here today to ask for your help to bring Tina Fontaine's case to justice. Stephen Harper, the former Prime Minister, stated, "We should not view this crime as a sociological phenomenon. We should view it as a crime." So, while it is possible that Cormier did not end her life, someone did, and they are still out there, wandering freely. We as a society failed Tina. The news just ignored her case as if her life did not matter. I urge each and every one of you tonight to speak up about what is going on in our country after we leave this room. It's the least that we could do to assist in the healing of our society. So speak up and make your voice heard, because there are so many more women out there like Tina who are unable to rest and find peace as a result of the unjust crimes committed against them. Together, we can be the long-awaited change we seek. Thank you for listening.